September 2015, my GP's note said, tired ++ weight gain, written twice. I didn't think much of it. I was on the medication, I was seeing the GP regularly, I was doing what I was told. 13 months later, my blood sugar had already moved from normal to borderline. Nobody mentioned it. I've got 13 years of NHS blood tests, and I went back through every single one to work out where this actually started. Not where I got diagnosed, where it started, and it's years earlier than I'd have guessed. 2015, the first note nobody flagged. 2016 to 2020, borderline drifting to worse while medicated. 2023, the last blood test before I changed anything, and what it actually showed me about managed, not meaning fine. Here's what I believed and what most GPs will tell you, and honestly, what makes complete sense on paper. If you're on medication and you're getting your bloods checked regularly, you're being looked after, the system's working, someone's watching the numbers. That's the whole point of managed. Statins, manage cholesterol. Alpurinol, manages uric acid. Inhalers, manage asthma. You take the tablet does its job, you get on with your life. I believed that for the best part of a decade, probably 2. 6 medications by the end: statins, azestamide, alpurinol, 2 asthma inhalers, citrazine, every box ticked. Blood tests every few months. GP appointments kept. I was, by any reasonable definition, being a good patient. There's a researcher called Smada Shiloh, Weizmann Institute, does a lot of work on how we actually test blood sugar. And she found something that stopped me in my tracks when I read it. A single fasting glucose test can properly mislead you. 40% of people who tested normal the first time got reclassified as pre-diabetic on a second test just days later, which tells you something uncomfortable. Normal on the day isn't the same as fine. That's not me having a go at my GP, by the way. 12-minute appointments, a standard panel, dozens of patients a day. Nobody's got the bandwidth to sit and trace a trajectory across a decade. That's not a failure of any individual. It's just what the system's built to do. My personal evidence pulls together what actually happened across those years. And I want to walk you through it properly, because the story isn't I got sick, then I got better. It's much slower than that, and slower is the point. September 2015, HbA1c 38, technically normal. Top of the normal range, but normal. GP notes on the blood request form, weight gain. Tired ++ weight gain. Written twice. That's not subtle. Someone was noticing something, even if nobody joined the dots out loud. 13 months later, October 2016, HbA1c 40, borderline pre-diabetic territory. 2 points in just over a year, and in the same window, by December, cholesterol 7, triglycerides 1.8, both outside range. This was while taking statins and azestamide daily, following the guidance exactly. That's the bit that got me when I finally looked back at it properly. 2 separate biomarkers, HbA1c and lipids, both drifting the wrong way at the same time on medication designed to stop exactly that. Not one number having a bad day, but a pattern. By 2020, cholesterol was 7.3 to 7.4, uric acid 449 to 502, both flagged high. HbA1c 43.2. Pre-diabetic confirmed, still fully medicated, still doing what I was told. Then October 22. HbA1c 47, 1 point off an actual diabetes diagnosis, and the worst reading of the whole 13 years came in. December 23, cholesterol was 8, described on the report as very high, ALT 69, elevated liver enzymes, HbA1c still sitting at 46. 8 years of medication, and my worst numbers came right at the end of it, not the beginning. GP's response through most of that period was fairly reasonable. Let's keep monitoring, which is the correct thing to say when nothing's dramatically wrong yet. But 8 years of slow, steady drift in the wrong direction while medicated the whole time. That's not nothing's wrong. That's just wrong, slowly enough that nobody flags it. There's a phrase for the mechanism that stuck with me. Jack Mosley describes insulin resistance as the lecture hall where the loudspeaker starts muffling. The host speaks louder to compensate and louder again, but the audience still can't hear clearly. The pancreas is the host. Your cells are the audience. Years of elevated insulin means the cells have heard the signal so often they've stopped responding properly. So the pancreas shouts louder, the audience chews out further. That's not the pancreas failing, it's the whole communication system slowly breaking down, while everyone in the room assumes it's working because there's still a voice coming from the front. I'm 53, I was on 6 medications and I'm now on none. I didn't read about this and decide to make videos. I did it, tracked it, got the blood test to prove it, and then made the videos. If you'd rather follow someone with receipts than someone with opinions, subscribe. New videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. 31st of October 2023. Prescription for all 6 medications ended. My own decision, not a supervised trial, not something my GP suggested. I stopped on my own initiative and told him afterwards once I had blood tests to show him. That's not the approach I'd recommend to anyone watching this. If you're thinking about anything similar, the conversation should happen with your GP first, not after. The medications themselves fully stopped by February 2024 once all of my stock had run out. Statins, estamide, alpurinol, both inhalers. The antihistamine, all 6. First few weeks, slightly nervous if I'm honest. You spend 8 years being told these tablets are managing something and then you stop. And there's a part of your brain waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing dramatic happened. No flare, no attack, no crisis. Just quiet. 15 plus months full medication free. Tracked properly, and here's what the data actually showed. HbA1c, normalised. 37 by April 25 and it held at 37 through to November 25. Not a one-off good reading. Sustained. Liver enzymes down 86%. ALT went from 69 to 10. Kidney function, EGFR, above 90. Excellent. And it stayed there. 45 years of asthma, 20 plus months without needing an inhaler. 24 years of gout, 18 plus months, 0 flares. And I want to be honest about the bit that didn't fully sort itself out, because that's the deal I made with this channel from the start. I don't smooth over the numbers. There are still a work in progress. Cholesterol is better, it's not fixed. It was 6.77 in November 25, down from 8, which was the peak in 23, but it's still sitting above where NICE would want it. Some things improve fast, some things take longer. I'm not going to pretend that one's done. GP's reaction when I brought in the results properly was somewhere between surprised and genuinely pleased. Not the reaction you'd expect if stopping medication was as reckless as it sounds on paper. He wasn't thrilled about the sequence of events, but he looked at the data and he had no complaints about where it finished. What my data suggests, and it's one person's data, 13 years of it, but still one person, is that managed and improving aren't the same thing. I spent 8 years being managed. The numbers kept drifting anyway. 15 months of a completely different approach, and most of them turned around. That doesn't mean everyone should stop the statins, the alpurinol, the inhalers. If you've got a diagnosed cardiac condition, a family history of heart disease, if your GP's told you the medication is protecting something specific, that conversation happens with your GP always before anything changes. My situation isn't a template, it's one data point. If you're not on medication yet, if your GP's ever written something like keep an eye on that or flagged a number as borderline and moved on, that's worth paying attention to. It's the same slow drift I went through just years earlier in the timeline. You don't need 6 medications and a decade of decline before it's worth asking questions. And if you are on medication and any of this has made you curious about your own numbers, the conversation is with your GP, not instead of the relationship you've already got with them, with it. Bring your questions to that appointment, not away from it. If you want to start tracking your own numbers properly, not just what the GP flags, but the actual trend over years, the pattern tracking guide is linked below. And please, this is educational content only. It's not medical advice. Never stop or change medication without your GP's supervision. I did stop my own medications on my own initiative, and I did tell my GP afterwards. That's not the approach I'm recommending.